without understanding the importance of projecting out certain attitudes, without understanding what the purpose and the why is behind you being in this business, you listening to a podcast like this to get better, you going to that conference to get better, to learn skill sets from other people. If you don't really understand why you're doing that, it's probably going to be short-lived, or it's not going to be, you're not going to meet the full expectations.
Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and today I want to introduce you to not one, but two very, very special guests. In this episode, I had the opportunity to do an interview in person of two amazing human beings that have had a huge impact on the direct selling industry. You're going to get to hear in this episode from the amazing Sam Higginson and Rafa Parra from Zyia Active. These two incredible human beings are experts when it comes to leadership, when it comes to sales, when it comes to training. And in this episode, they share some of the incredible knowledge that they have gained over the years that has helped countless leaders achieve their dreams in the direct selling industry. These two amazing people I have had the chance to get to know over the last few years, and they are a wealth of information. So I am super excited to be able to share with you this amazing interview I did with them about how they impact and influence leaders, but also how they manage to balance that with growing a direct selling company from a corporate perspective. So whether you're listening today and you are in corporate and you're wondering, how do you grow a direct selling business? How do you make changes in an industry that needs change? When you are also dealing with leaders that you want to lead, that you want to love, and you want them to feel respect so that they can continue having trust and faith in the company that they are a part of. Well, you're going to love this episode. So grab your pen and paper. You're going to want it with you because they drop a ton of golden nuggets and share some of their amazing insights from experiences that they have had in their roles over the years. So sit back, enjoy the episode, and thanks again for tuning in to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. Thank you both so much for taking time out of your very, very busy schedules. I know that this was super last minute, but I'm really excited that we're able to come here and meet with you guys in what is no longer snow. It's now rain out there, but in the Zyia head office to chat with you about your incredible experience in this industry, but more, I suppose, as you were saying, from a corporate perspective. I know, Sam, you've got some amazing background when it comes to strategy and understanding numbers, etc., and even coaching leaders. So I'm super excited to chat with you about that. And I know, Rafa, you certainly mirror a lot of that, but you've had some incredible experience in this industry as well. I want to hear, first of all, though, tell me, what is Agile TV, Sam?
It was a channel that we had back in the old days at Agile. This has been, what years were those? Probably 2010 to 2015, maybe.
Yeah.
Every week, Zach Bradley and myself had a TV show called Agile TV.
Now, hang on. Is Zach Bradley one of the Bradleys?
Yes. So he's a co-founder here at Zyia.
Right. Okay. Yeah. This is getting interesting.
So we ran a show every week, and Rafa likes to keep it alive.
So tell me about the show. Was this kind of like, this is how you do push-ups, this is how you do chin-ups?
No, it was really more of a training platform. So we would interview top leaders about their experiences, what they've been doing that week or what they've been doing that quarter to really drive success in the team.
Oh, so this was direct selling.
Yeah, we were trying to attract the best of the best leaders to come on and share their stories. Wow. So it was a really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I was picturing, when you said this, the way you said it, Rafa, I thought you were talking about maybe like an exercise TV show where, you guys are coming in.
No.
Kind of like the man's version of a workout video.
No, but I'll tell you what, we didn't get to dress the way I am now. We were always to the nines in suits, very corporate-y. And we would run this show every week, and it was a great experience. I mean, everybody was trying to do something with social media at the time. Like it was just emerging as something you could really use to grow your business.
Yeah.
It wasn't, as sophisticated and sometimes complex, but even more simple now today.
Yeah.
But back then it was really just an opportunity to kind of create a platform for your people
Yeah.
to learn from.
Awesome. So tell me about, the two of you have been working together for 18 years. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it's about that.
So you're really you have succeeded longer than vast majority of the married couples out there.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
So what does that look like? You've been in the direct selling industry for almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
You've both worked with various different companies. Tell me a little bit about that background.
So we've been, it was kind of like at the beginning customer service. So I actually do enjoy that experience where like we both were able to from the ground up. And some people don't have that. So we understand someone here, how they feel, the problems that they had, and then just seeing growing from that time, to VPs at this point. It's an incredible journey. Lucky we had some breaks. So, we got some time apart.
2000 for me, 2005 to 2015 at Agile. And so you'd have been there at some of that period.
So it was like 2008 to like 2016, 17.
Yeah. And so you guys are both, you were with Truby, Rafa, and you've worked with very Dan and Field, Sam. Like you guys have been with multiple different companies over the years.
Yeah, I started my career in 1997 with a company called Nature Sunshine.
Yes.
I'm still around today doing great things. Big part of the community that I grew up in Spanish Fork, Utah. They're headquartered there, and it's a local family that started it. They've been around in business for over 50 years. They do wonderful things. And then I went from there to a company called New Ways, which is now Modere.
Yes.
And, they sold it at one point, but that was my first experience. I was in operations over at Nature Sunshine. I was actually mixing up product and taking all the raw materials and mixing them and sending them to be capsulated and tabulated. So I had a chance to see that side of the business, at least on the nutritional side. Of course, here at Zyia Active, we are getting back into the nutritional, so excited to kind of experience that again, but we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. Then at New Ways, I had a chance to really see what leadership from the field side was all about. And I fell in love with that. That would have been 2000, right around that time.
Yep.
And so I've been involved in a leadership role with field development or selves or whatever you want to call it, learning development, since that period of time. So it's now 2025. I'm starting to be aged.
As young as ever before. So why the direct selling industry? I mean, both of you have stayed in the direct selling industry for so long. Did you, I'm guessing you didn't set out to be in this industry. Why stick with it for so long? And what's your drive to see this industry do?
For me, it's just like the people that we work with. So like those relationships, like literally, it doesn't matter if you're at Zyia, but like some of those guys from back in the day, we still keep in touch. And I'm just thankful for everything I was able to learn, and go through with these guys. So it is a family, and just seeing the impact that, this channel has given them and the opportunities for their families. It's just what gets me like, how do we improve? How do we get better for them? So that's my reason.
Yeah.
And for me, that's I would say the same. Honestly, it's the relationships and I mean, I have to put this disclaimer out there. I really haven't done anything else. I did have a 3-year period of time that my brother had founded a company and they wanted to go public. And so I have 4 brothers. We all do the same thing. We're all involved in this channel.
Wow.
At some level, 2 of them on the field side and then 3 of us on the corporate side. But so it wasn't something we set out to do, but here in Utah, there's plentiful opportunity to work for some really good companies with really good people. But really, it's not about like this, the corporate structure. It's really not about that side of it for me as it is, just the opportunity that we've had to grow and learn from so many people around the world. And I've had a chance to work in, Europe for 5 years and all over North America, Asia Pacific, and Australia, and many other places. So it's been awesome for me in that regard.
Yeah, wow. And I've had the chance to get to know you guys over the last couple of years, and drop in, of course, with Tim Tams, when we're in town.
Look forward to that.
Yeah. But one of the things that's really stuck out to me through chatting with both of you is your experience, your high level experience when it comes to helping people be successful in this industry. And both of you speak so passionately about that, and I'm really keen to talk about that a little bit today. But before we do, I don't want to take the shine off the Zyia story too much, because I definitely would love Erin and Jeremiah to share that on the podcast at some stage. But
we'd love them too.
I'd love for you to tell us a little about what that journey looked like for you guys coming in, because have you both been with Zyia Active since its inception, since it started, or what did that journey look like?
So it in a way. So for example, when Zyia started, there was actually two companies that started at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
One, obviously Zyia that we're talking about, and there was another company, a supplement company called Nimbus.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, when they approached me about joining the companies, I'm like, wait, you want me to sell bras and talk about bras and leggings? I giggle just mentioning bras. Like, no. Tell me about the other company, right? Tell me about the supplements, because obviously that's what I at that point, that's all I knew was sell supplements. Mm-hmm. and just running with that. So I did that for 2 years. I ran that company, Nimbus. And then, things changed, and then I'm like, hey, tell me about those bras again. What sizes, what colors? And then so in a way, I've seen, I went to Jeremiah and Aaron's house when they were like themselves picking and packing, the orders through that first warehouse. We shared that building with those two companies. I was there, with them, at that initial phase. But it took me one year after, and so in 2019-ish, it's when I officially came in to Zyia to help open the Canadian market.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and for me, we were all together, the Bradley family, Rafa, myself, we were all at a company called Agile Enterprises, which we launched and did business in about 55 countries or something at some point there at the end. And it was a great company. But we probably overextended ourselves. We learned a lot about what not to do. But we also learned a lot of great things about what to do, right? Mm-hmm. Developing good communication strategies with leaders and things of that nature. But for me, I was at Rodan & Fields, and I was the national director of selves at the time. And these guys reached out and wanted to talk about this little company called Zyia. And for my, my journey, this was kind of unique. I was working for Rodan & Fields. I wasn't going to, get too involved. I had a really good position. I love Rodan & Fields. They did a lot of wonderful things. I'm super sad that they're not in the channel anymore, because they really did some amazing things at that time. But I was experiencing unbelievable growth at Rodan & Fields. And so I was learning. I had just came out of a company that was experiencing extreme lows and trying to turn it around, and then going to Rodan & Fields and seeing those extreme highs. And so your emotions change quite a bit, right? Your experience in what you're seeing every day, it changes a lot. And I'll never forget it. This is something that it's just kind of really fun for me. But they reached out and they said, hey, can we come to your house and host a party in your living room? Your wife can be the host, Whitney, my wife, can be the host, and we just want to we kind of want to test out how this model is going to work. And so we hosted one of the very first ever parties in my neighborhood. Aaron and Jeremiah drove down, and they put everything out, and showcased everything, and my wife invited all the neighbors over, and they came over and they purchased stuff. And I'm working for Rodan & Fields, and so I was on the outskirts. I didn't want to be in any pictures. I didn't want any of my leaders questioning my loyalties to Rodan & Fields. And I didn't fully believe they could do it. Clothes. I mean, yes, nutrition and skincare, those things, they were easy, right? But I really didn't know that they could do it selling leggings and bras. And so I was skeptical. And then over the years, that would have been 2016, 2017 timeframe, 2018, just listening to their journey and their experiences. It was not, always rainbows and unicorns for Zyia Active. And they had a very humble, tough start. The warehouse was out of their house, and kind of an old school story, really.
Yeah.
But I remember being in Austin, Texas for an event with Rodan and Fields, and I was chatting with Jeremiah and Zach about their business model, what they were thinking about doing. And I was just really shocked and surprised that they were going to try doing it the way they were doing it.
Yep.
Didn't really have a whole lot of belief. And I was doing my thing. They started doing their thing. And ultimately, I decided to get into the coaching side of the business. I really love working with leaders.
Yeah.
I love the opportunity of being able to build strategy with a leader and apply all the key performing indicators and understand the drivers and then set a plan and execute that. That's what I was really good at. That was my passion. And so in 2019, I left Rodan and Fields and started a business called, it was a consulting business called H6. And Zyia Active was my very first customer.
Wow.
And
Okay. So
in
that
March
was
of 2019,
your client prior to.
I went to an event in Dallas, Texas, and spoke on their behalf.
Wow.
Spoke about my platform, but kind of as like a keynote. Back then, they couldn't afford to get big name keynotes, so I came, as kind of a favor to the company. I mean, and they were giving me a huge favor. And so I spent from 2019 to 2021 helping as a third-party consultant work with and coach their leaders.
Wow.
I also had other clients from other companies.
Yeah.
But I found that most of my day was being spent on Zyia-related issues.
Yeah.
And so ultimately an opportunity to come over and be a part of their corporate team. I already knew and trusted them completely.
Yeah.
I did love what I did. And it was really actually hard for me to do. But I've been with them officially since September of 2021.
Yeah. Wow.
It's been awesome. I love it.
Yeah. And look, the company has gone into many different regions. They've seen huge success.
Yes.
And, for any of our listeners that are wondering, Zyia doesn't just sell leggings and bras anymore. Zyia Active you guys are fully kitted out right now.
Yeah.
I've got some really great, I call them jumpers. You do not call them jumpers, do you? You call them sweaters
and jackets,
trackies.
joggers.
Well, keep in mind, and we were talking about this before, but we shorten everything. So in Australia, trackies.
Okay.
Yeah, everything trackie dacks, actually. I don't know why we call them that. I probably shouldn't have told you because now you're going to go to Australia.
I know.
Yeah, you're both. So, what do you both, and I'll start with you, Rafa, what do you attribute to being some of the key, because Zyia Active have come into a space where, like you said, there's many, many companies. Some have been doing really well. Some are in huge decline at the moment.
Yeah.
And we've seen some completely drop out of the channel or shut down altogether in the last few years. And I want to talk about that in a moment. But what do you think are some of the reasons and the strategies that Zyia has applied to be so successful through this time?
Awesome. So I think for me, it literally comes down to one thing, and it's just transparency. Like everything that we do, we just lay it out there. We always say we're not perfect, but we are here to help them be the best they can be. And honestly, I know this is going to sound maybe cliche and everything. We put what's best. We always do what's best, even if that costs us money. So, for example, why do I say that? They're over COVID with the craziness. We never increased the prices. Like we were eating, all the air freight and everything like that, because that was the right thing to do to support our field. So, and I know it's important, and I want to just take a little note under the moment to talk about this. There's many great companies, like we all know. I love this channel. But it's really important that you guys take a look at who you partner up with.
Yeah.
And that's what I love most about Zyia. It's like it's all great people, starting from the reps, the founders, the Bradleys, Sam, everyone that works here has the best of intentions in their heart. And I know it's hard to say and to quantify, but that has translated in us being successful.
Yeah. And I have noticed something that you guys do as well. I don't know if this is intentional or it just happens to be some of the people that I've met, but we had a chance to meet some of your amazing team over the years, but we caught up with some of them earlier this week. And I asked where they started in the company, and both of them said in customer service.
Yeah.
And then they were built up from there. And I mean, is that a typical thing that you do with a lot of your?
Yeah, I mean, Jeremiah and Aaron. Jeremiah specifically, Aaron is the real idea behind this, and I'm going to leave that to her. She can tell that.
She can tell it.
But Jeremiah has been on the business side of this business for his entire career, and he started in customer service. Yeah. And I started in customer service, and Rafa started in customer service, and Zach started in customer service. Everybody that's in our business at some point started in customer service in their career inside this channel.
Yeah.
So we really understood that piece of the business, what the needs of the customer base, our rep base, the distributor base. What are those real needs when it's down in the trenches stuff?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's really easy for us to just look at data.
Yeah.
It's really easy. In fact, Rafa and I were having a discussion before you guys got here about a piece of data that we have, current customer service rep in this company, put together one of the most sophisticated reports you've ever seen. Brilliant work, and nobody would really ever know that if he didn't kind of push himself into this spot to say, hey, let me do this work for you. Yeah. And he built this incredible plan for us. He basically looked at 2024 and showcased all the details about what we did and why those things happened. It's Rafa and I's job, though, now, because we have that same experience at one time in our career, we got to make it gray sometimes. We've got to pull the black and white together because there are things going on in different regions of the world, country. There's all kinds of different personalities. There's all kinds of different backgrounds and skill sets. And so if you don't really understand the actual needs of the distributor base, you're never going to have a customer base. Yeah. Because you need those distributors to help you get the customers.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about that for a minute, because you did mention to me before that one of the things that you think sets this business apart is that you really listen, and you really listen to those leaders. Tell me a little bit about that. Was that always intentional? Was that kind of, hey, we had some rough trots there and worked out we really needed to start listening to them? What did that look like? And what does that look like?
I'll start if you don't mind. I think it's absolutely critical, and it's the hardest thing that I've had to figure out how to do.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're still not perfect there. We got a long ways to go, but throughout my career, there's always been corporate and field.
Yeah.
And they almost have to work against each other in some ways. Because the field wants what's best for them, and the corporation wants what's best for the corporation. But the corporation needs the field to be successful, and the field needs the corporation to be successful. And when those two things don't match up, that's when we see the struggles and the declines and the fold ups of this brand. So one of the things that we developed here was what we call focus groups, and they are very specifically designed to kind of pull in 7 women. So in our business, it's mostly women. Yeah. Right now, certainly men are eligible for it. We still have a whole lot of men builders, but we pull in 7 leaders to each of those groups. And we usually try to operate 4 to 5 focus groups at a time. So the idea is you pull them in, you have conversations with them about incentives. Rafa comes up with all kinds of sales strategies with our product offering. We'll talk to Rafa, get some feedback from him. We'll take that feedback to the field and just kind of throw it at him as though we're almost doing it.
Yep.
And then just get the reaction. Yep. And then talk through the finer points. And it helps us to, write something that we really all believe is going to work. So I think throughout my early part of my career, we were so secretive. There was no transparency. We constantly wanted to surprise them.
Yeah.
And I still think there's some level of, if you want a true equal playing field, there has to be some level of surprise. But I do think it's important that it's their business too. This is their livelihood. They have families counting on this check.
Yeah.
And so they need to have a say in how we're doing things.
Yeah.
And we might disagree, but we at least come to an agreement to disagree.
So it's with the focus groups. I mean, do you bring those ideas to the
majority of the field as well, or you sort of stick those ideas to the focus groups until you've made a decision as to what?
Usually it's those 28. We start with those 28.
Yeah.
They're under NDA, so it's something that we like to have a conversation with just them, and it's a sampling, right? They are representative of 1/28th of the company, if you will.
Yeah.
So we pulled them in because of their rank. They had to qualify. Essentially, there's a criteria they need to meet in order to be on that. And then we rotate people out. We switch teams up. Some people don't work as well together. Some are really strong, and so they'll dominate those conversations and maybe sway others.
Yeah.
So there are times where I think it's really important that you reach out to individuals and have conversations within those focus groups. Have a conversation before you take it to the group to see if there's any differences.
Yeah.
To see if there's any kind of influence that's undue.
Yeah.
You know, we've learned so much here, and I think at Zyia we do a really good job. And I will tell you, Jeremiah and Zach, in the beginning, they weren't. It wasn't a super comfortable thing to share that much information, but I think we've learned over time that it's been really healthy.
Yeah.
It's been really healthy for us to have conversations with our top, most influential leaders to say, look, if we were to roll something like this out, could you support it and will you support it?
Yeah.
How could we make it better? What parts of it are not going to work?
Yeah, no, exactly what Sam said. I was just going to add, like, the way I see this, it's like a race car, like an F1 formula. And I love Formula racing, Formula One, so that's why I say this. And hopefully we can have an event next year at that time in Melbourne. That'd be incredible.
Why you?
That was like I'm pushing, but it never works for some reason. Hopefully, work next year. But you think about it, we can have the fastest race car out there. We can, but we need a driver at the end. At the end of the day, we're not making those sales. End of the day, we're making sure that race car is the fastest car out there for anyone.
Yeah.
Right. And, we have the best tires, and then we got the best promotions. And, you can see kind of like the analogy, okay, what do we have? Our product offerings, could be like transmission. So we try to improve that every day. But it's up to the driver. If without the driver, it's not even moving an inch.
Yeah.
So on that, I want to kind of poke the bear here a little bit because, one of the challenges we see in this industry, probably more so with older companies that have got sort of legacy leaders in place, but still it happens across the board as you get leaders that grow their businesses, they start to feel some real ownership, which is wonderful, but it also creates an issue when you do go to them and they don't want change or they don't agree with the moving forward. For you, is it a matter of if the leaders don't want it, it doesn't happen? Or are there some times that you go, okay, this is a time to listen and this is a time to move? Because I've seen a lot of companies not move ahead and not shift and adapt and change when they needed to because they didn't want to upset the apple cart.
Oh, sorry. So it's a really great question. And it's really, it's almost like it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
And really, it's not like a black and white thing.
Yeah.
But usually, obviously, the buy-in, the most buy-in that we can get, it helps us, be successful. Like there's no point of us going against the wishes of our field, right? Yeah. So I think for us, what we try to do sometimes is, okay, great. It's almost like it's a no for now, right? Okay, great. You're not ready for this, or I'm not explaining it correctly, or so okay, great. So we never want to impose stuff unless it's kind of like I don't know. I don't think there's a time where we actually just impose something like that. Yeah. So usually our leaders, like Sam was saying, they're really incredible. Like they might say hey, I'm not understanding, but I'll support it. So that's usually the feedback that we get.
That's pretty unusual, I've got to say. Yes. I don't hear a lot of companies talking about having that sort of support from their leaders.
And if there's something where, for example, even the supplements, I can give you an example right now. So we actually were thinking about this for all 2024. Right? Yeah. We had discussions between us, hey, wouldn't it be great? And I think it started wait, what? Is this serious? And then actually that sounds, so, we take those discussions and we eventually took this to our top leaders. And at that point, or at that time, it was I don't know.
We're an active.
We're a company. I don't know, right? And then we're okay, great. So we kept working among us. How can we present this better? What other things? And then we gave it a second round. And at that time, even some of the our top leaders that were not ready, they're like, hey, you know what? I'm not sure if I'm going to participate, but I'll support you guys.
Yeah.
And now after and I'm glad we did that, because like now, like right now, after they tested the product, they've seen the supplement facts, they see how clean they are. The price point, I have not heard a single person not saying that they are excited and cannot wait for these to be released.
Yeah.
So it's a process.
It's almost as though they needed a chance to warm up to the idea and just get used to it more so than anything changing.
Yeah. And I will say this, and this is a really key, important thing, especially for any corporate listeners.
Yeah.
This is a super critical. We didn't, this is not how we always operated. We've been clandestine, throughout our careers too. There's been times of not very much transparency. We didn't want to create an uneven playing field, and we wanted everybody to have a truly equal opportunity. But we've also recognized that our own voices have certain influence. The way Rafa explains something versus the way I explain something might be completely different. If we were to talk to the same person, he or she might hear it from Rafa differently than they heard it from me.
Yeah.
Because of a phrase that he used or something.
Yeah.
And leaders are the same way. Some of them have a personality that's very strong. Some have a personality that is very influential. And so you get a bunch of leaders on a call, and sometimes that most influential person has the say more than anyone else. And so one thing that we've done as a recent example, this is kind of letting the cat out of the bag, but I'm going to share it because I think it's really important. We started a product committee, which is separate from a focus group. It's the same idea. It's a focus group, but we did it individually. So we BCC'd everybody. Nobody knows who's on the focus group. There's 20 women who are currently seeing all of the stuff that we will be launching in 5 or 6 months from now. So we have the samples, we have some models, they showcase the product. We send 5 or 6 items. Hey, what do you think? We're thinking about buying this. And we have them rank it on a score of 1 to 10. And then we average it out and we showcase that data back to them. Hey, you guys loved this. You didn't love the bag. You didn't love this color. You loved that color. You want more of this. So this is what the feedback was. And we do it every single week. Wow. We did that for 1 quarter. And next week we have our first call with all 20 to reveal
who they were. Oh, wow, I love that.
And it's been such a fun thing for them because they've had a chance to really share their own voice. But then next week, and not be worried about anybody's. So I think that's been a learning. This is the first time I've experienced this, and I'm thinking, this has been a really helpful, impactful thing.
And all the countries got representation. So you had reps from the U.S., reps from Australia, reps from Canada. So
age differences,
different ranks.
All across the very diverse group.
So tell me about the grab bags, because you mentioned to me before that you did have a circumstance where there was maybe some pushback, and tell me about that story.
So we're always thinking about things that, how can we do new things? And obviously, after 8 years, it gets challenging, every month, what could we do we have not done before? But the grab bags are something that we were thinking about doing in December, because December, people are shopping, or in November, December, kind of like the end of the holiday shopping. So it's a great time for us, and I think for a lot of companies. So thinking, what if we did something like this, something fun, right? That time, it was like, oh, we guys cannot do that. Like, that's just,
So explain a grab bag to me, just
a grab bag. So I understand. So it's first time we ever done it. And it was we did it like last week for our anniversary week. So right now in Feb, it's our 8-year anniversary for Zyia.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
I should have brought the birthday cake.
Well, next time.
Next year, this time. I remember.
Yes. So what we did is we had some leggings, and obviously because our clothing, there's different sizes. So some people might wear, a different size in the top, different size in the bottom. So we were truly careful on the offering. So something that people would use the same sizes, right? Like we didn't want to have maybe like a bra. Bras are difficult because a sports bra might be different than a comfort bra. So we try to pick items that were pretty much similar in sizing. And then, for example, you bought 3 leggings. You didn't know what they were. You just pick, I want leggings, and this is my size.
Okay.
And then, hey, I'm looking for shorts. This is I want shorts. This is my size. And then we did tanks, and tees. This is my, that's my preference.
So it's 3 items together of the
3 items.
same, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same category. And then we did a couple for men's and then, yeah, so Rolls Price. And it was incredible. I think like I was kind of like, hey, we're going to do this, but maybe we need to pivot to something else, and it doesn't work out, so we had like plan B, C, D.
It doesn't sound like you're backing yourself on this.
Yeah, we were like, hey, let's because like we never done it before. And we broke all records. I think we were able to ship over like 30,000 items.
Oh
so
my
like
goodness.
just in the US.
And I've heard that you've had some people who are absolutely pushing against becoming a customer, finally with the grab bag say, you know what, I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah.
For the very first time.
I mean, one of the things that we found from it too, we had thousands of orders that were placed on that day.
Wow.
That from customers or reps that haven't placed an order in over 90 days, which is really incredible, right? It was something that grabbed their attention. But Rafa and I chatted earlier about this as well, and I think this is a key ingredient as well. This is a great learning and something I've spent the last 2 days studying. We launched this new idea of supplements, nutrition.
Yes.
On January 2nd. And about every 8 or so days, we have an email campaign adding just a little bit more information. We gave them the initial idea. We let people kind of marinate on that for a minute. Then we came back to them and we named the products. And then we shared what the ingredient decks, the information of all the ingredients. And then the day before the mystery bags, we sent an email with the price point. And it was a very favorable piece of information. You never know what people are going to respond in terms of price point, but overwhelmingly favorable. And so there was what I think it was the perfect combination of, timing is obviously really important. We launch products every Wednesday. There are anywhere from 8 to 12. How many did we launch today?
I would say like 13.
We did 13 new products today. Next Wednesday, we'll do another 13. And we'll do that. We've done that for 8 years. We'll continue to do that forever. That won't be the case with nutrition. So this is exciting and it's new. And for marketing people out there, drip campaigns, dripping information.
Yeah.
Even for reps that are trying to, get that perfect customer.
Yeah, it's about the curiosity and intrigue, right?
It's about how many touch points, right?
Yeah.
We talk about how many times does it take you to, and I think what happened for us is this was a really good idea. Rafa came up with this idea, this grab bag idea, that most of the people in the home office were kind of like, maybe. I mean, it seems cool. It's new. We liked that. But I think what happened was we had enough eyes looking at Zyia Active. Our past customers, our reps that have been a little bit less active, we're now paying attention. They were paying attention because they just got the price, points for the new nutrition products that are still yet to come out, but they know they're coming in March, and so they're excited. And then this thing just happened to be, the mystery bag thing came out and it's new. And what we found was a lot of people were like, hey, we came to probably get information about nutrition, maybe.
Yeah.
But at least 2,000 of them probably bought because of the mystery bag.
Do you think, I have to wonder, I mean, there's so much choice out there now, and I have to wonder if part of the desire, I know certainly for me as I'm hearing you talking about it, I'm like, that sounds like the best, easiest way to get an item that you need without having to sit there and go, oh, but will I get the right one? Which one will I choose? There's so many colors. If you do a grab bag, it sort of is like, well, I've got an excuse to not have to worry about choice. I just put my size and you guys are going to send me and I'll get what I get. I think, in so many ways, it's so clever in that because you guys do have such a huge range.
I think you nailed it. So that's the thing, like the feedback that we're getting so far is like, hey, I didn't realize you have that product because we got so much SKUs that sometimes they're on page, let's say 100 and no one really is clicking, so many different let me go to page. I really want to know what they have there on page.
So I heard a really great quote once. The best place to go to die is on the second page of a Google search.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's the thing. So for us, exactly, we value like the real estate that we have on the pages. So our best selling items are usually on the page 1 and 2 because we understand. But like the feedback was like, man, I didn't even know you guys had that because we got so many SKUs. And then just real quick back to what you were saying before, I think the key with, there's I don't say just disagreements on, hey, you guys want to do this, want to do that. It's like I think I can speak for everybody here in this office. Like we understand that we are all pushing the same direction.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's us against the field. It's like, how do I help you? So even when we get like a no, we're like, okay, great. I'm sure like their concerns are valid, and we validate those concerns, but then we analyze those concerns and see if there's a way we can overcome them. So that's pretty much, there's always, some disagreements, or I like red or I like blue. And end of the day, there's nothing that you can please everyone. Like that's the saying, like try to please everyone or to please no one.
Please no one. That's exactly right.
So we take our shot with like those leaders and kind of, okay, great. Our odds. Okay. So we think we should do this. Our odds with the leaders are this. Okay, great. Let's move ahead, or like let's rethink, or how do we make it better, bulletproof that idea.
Yeah, awesome. Before we wrap up, I want to just come back to numbers for a moment, because I know this is kind of like, I love numbers. I know you guys love numbers. You're analyzing the numbers, and Sam, you've got so much experience with the leaders, being that you've done the coaching as well. There are so many things in a business, particularly as you're growing your direct selling business as a rep, distributor, brand partner, whatever you identify as. What would you say are some of the key, and we talk about them as KPIs, key performance indicators, but what would you say are some of the key performance indicators or numbers that people in a business need to really pay attention to in order to be successful?
Well, obviously, I think that's very different with every comp plan and what, product offering you have. So I think that everybody needs to understand their comp plan. They need to understand their offering and how it all kind of works together.
Yeah.
Here at Zyia, it's all about kind of new people, right?
Yeah.
New eyes. So it's total number of new reps. It's all of the normal things, like how many enrollments are you having, right?
Yeah.
What is your, how many new customers do you have? What's the conversion rate of a customer to become somebody that actually, in our model, you host a party? So how many customers are converting to hosting a party, and then how many hosts are converting to becoming a rep? And what is the average party order? What is the average rep producing in a 12-month life cycle? How much volume are they producing? There's all of those numbers are really important. And I think everybody needs to understand the key ingredients for them. For us, it is those. It's the number of new reps per month, right? And it's funny because that's the one thing that has not changed since 1997.
Wow.
In my industry, it is. And by the way, I think it's every industry. It's whether it's, I don't care what the channel of sales are. It's all about new customers. But if you want to grow your business, you have to have new people. And for us, the channel we use, the model we use is direct sales. And so it requires us to find new reps, to find customers who, are hosting and host. Our cycle of success at Zyia has been customers become hosts, hosts become reps, right? That's our model. And so every number is all around that. How many reach outs did we do? All of those things are really important. But I think what gets overlooked all too often are the three things that I have found in my 25 years. And I've had the great joy of working in places like Europe and Southeast Asia and Russia, Israel, Ukraine, South America. I've had a great opportunity to work with leaders from across the world. And one thing that absolutely translates is, what are leaders projecting out? What kind of attitudes are they projecting out to the world? What do people think about them? And we live in this world where it's like, as soon as you get to a place where you don't care what other people think, you're going to do really well, right? But I always push back against that. I mean, it does matter what your team thinks about you. Absolutely. It matters what kind of attitude you're projecting out there. It matters, my dad used to tell me and my brothers all the time, hey, it's fine if you don't think that sports writer says nice things about you, and we were always playing sports in high school and whatnot. But, it matters what your coaches think. It matters what your teachers think. It matters, when you choose a spouse, maybe what her father thinks or whatever, right? He used to always tell us, hey, it doesn't mean you can't stand up for the things you believe in, but it matters what people think about you. So the attitudes that you project out are really what make you. It's how people define you. And then understanding the purpose and the why, all that stuff is critically important still. And people say, it's just the cliche stuff. Of course they should say that. But the truth is, I've never met a leader And by the way, those that have sustaining power, that's what we could call any one of them today. You probably know a handful of leaders that are really successful. I know a handful that are really successful here at Zyia and in other businesses. Rafa knows some. We could call all of them right now without them knowing live on this show and ask them, why do you do what you do? And without hesitation, they could tell us.
Yeah.
And people don't really understand that. They keep kind of dancing around, or they don't allow for it to evolve. So when we talk about the numbers, they are important. You got to understand those. And that's what I think I'm really good at. That's what I've spent most of my career figuring out. But without understanding the importance of projecting out certain attitudes, without understanding what the purpose and the why is behind you being in this business, you listening to a podcast like this to get better, you going to that conference to get better, to learn skill sets from other people, you don't really understand why you're doing that, it's probably going to be short-lived, or it's not going to be, you're not going to meet the full expectation. So, and then the last one I would say, the last KPI that's really, really, really important, got to do the work. You got to work. It's hard. This is a hard business, just like anything else. It's just, it's a lot funner.
Yeah.
And it's really rewarding because you're your own boss.
Yeah.
All the benefits that we talk about in direct sales. But
No, perfect. I was just going to add exactly KPI, like a new people, if it's customers or enrollments, it's the key. But I was talking to this guy over the weekend, and he teaches, I don't think I've told this, we talk about a lot of things, but we haven't got to this story yet. But so he teaches primitive surviving in the desert here.
Wow.
And so he's, he does that. And I asked him my first question, like, hey, do you do this, only in the summer? He's like, no, I go out, the whole year with groups. Obviously, it's a little bit easier, when there's a bunch of food in the fall than, right now, and different things like that. But I did ask him, so what's the longest you've been out there by your own? Like on your own, just, doing your thing. He's like 18 days, right? And then funny enough, that this guy, he also works he's in politics. So he's day job, he's in politics, and then,
no wonder he needs to get
he's like, I have to get out of this place. So then obviously, me making a little joke like, hey, so I guess like, those surviving skills come in hand when you're in session there, right? So he said like, actually, you'd be surprised, and they do. But this is what he said. I thought he was going to say something like, hey, building a shelter or whatever it is. But the skill that he said, like it's the most important skill, it's just trying to find someone else that you can trust, that it's like-minded. Because then you have a little tribe, a community. So I think that's what makes us separate than other companies, that we have this great community. So you could do it alone for a little bit. Like even he's like, I could do it alone, but if I want to, be here and survive the test of time, I need to have like-minded people that we are a tribe.
Yeah.
And then we can split different things. So I thought like it was interesting that we were talking about community, and he pretty much, that was his message, like you go build a community if you want to, like, if you want to be here for a long time.
That's really powerful. I love that. Well, really, really great way for us to get to my most fun questions of every podcast. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Sam is.
All right. Sam's like researching really quickly.
No,
I
just keep getting blown up by Zach.
I'm not sure he's sending something.
We're busy right
now.
Yeah,
we're busy.
Yeah. So here's the first question. We have got a book list. We love to help people feed their minds, grow themselves. What would be one of your favorite books for us to add to our accelerator book list?
For me, I talked about a book today with my director of field development, Lindsay Mashburn. She and I were having a meeting today. I've been rereading a book called Captain's Class. It's a really awesome book. I love it. And basically the author is a sports writer that went around to all of these really successful organizations that built dynasties, that won rugby championships and basketball championships and soccer or football championships, American football championships, and tried to figure out what it was about those organizations. Was it because they were in LA or New York or big city markets? And what they found, it wasn't that. Was it because of the ownership organization? Not really. It wasn't about the ownership as much. A coach, it really wasn't, about the coach. And they just kind of deduced it down to understanding that it was, it was about the player. It was about the character of the player who leads that team. And I think what I love about it is that it's so true. You can develop some skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
You really can develop into becoming a great leader in this business. You don't have to be a 6'8" basketball player to be great in the NBA. I mean, I would have to have those things to be in the NBA. But here in this channel, you don't have to have any specific physicality or, specific skill set to be great. You don't have to have a background that's
An
great.
education or
You can develop character that will lead to greatness and sustain greatness.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of my quotes that I use today. So
yeah. I love it. So good. Rafa.
it's a long
What
one.
he said. No,
That's
what he said. No, I'm kidding. So it depends. Like, obviously, you probably is already on the list. I do, for some reason, sometimes reread Atomic Habits.
Yeah, really.
love
Even
Atomic
when I
Habits.
was up in Australia a couple of years ago, I think I mentioned some, James, ideas on things like that. And I'm sorry, I do like the Bible. And
Yeah.
let me tell you the reason why. I like, and I'm not debating if it's true, that's a different discussion. But just trying to understand the teachings and see how they apply, not on yourself, but in business, AKA just doing what's right.
Yeah.
And I know some people, for example, you can't mix, let's say religion with business, but why not?
Absolutely.
But why not? So yeah, that's on my personal note. I do like that and see how can I apply, when I talk to people, just trying to not get offended, all the different things, just try to those teachings and not just my personal life, but project that on my, business side.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And actually, a really good friend of ours who's also been on the podcast, Stephen Scott, wrote a book called, I think it's called The Richest Man on Earth. Hopefully I didn't get that wrong, but have you read this one? It's the
No, I haven't yet,
teachings of Proverbs in business, and it's how King Solomon used all of these teachings. And he talks about the principles of becoming so wealthy. And it's really powerful. Actually, Stephen talked about on the podcast how his mentor said to him, after he'd been lost job after job after job, I'm going to tell you to do one thing and one thing only. You're going to read every day for 30 days over and over and over again one of the chapters in Proverbs, relevant of what your religious beliefs are, because it teaches. And I started doing it too. I was like, I'm so inspired. This is great. And I actually learned so much from it. So it's really powerful.
Okay.
So favorite quote from both of you. We'll start with you, Rafa.
Okay. I can find one I was getting, but I don't know even if it's a real quote. I don't know who said this, if it's something.
We're going to call this a Rafa quote.
A Rafa quote, yes. I have my own language, so that quote. I actually, for some reason, do enjoy when I say, or people tell me, the grass is not always greener on the other side. It's just where you water it down. And I think that's just kind of the key. In everything, it's sometimes we get caught up in things could be better here or things could improve there. But what are you doing to improve that situation?
I love that. Yeah. So good. It's taking ownership.
And I don't know who said that. So whoever did, I'm sorry.
It's a Rafa original. I love it. Sam, you got one lined up. I can see.
Well, I kind of feel.
A few.
Listen, I literally had from that book, and I've already talked about it, but the quote that I had from that book, and I shared it this morning. And so when you asked this question,
I can see on your phone, it's circle.
Yeah, no, I kind of crossed this stuff out. But it says this: the most crucial ingredient in a team that achieves and sustains historic greatness is the character of the player who leads it.
Yeah.
But I want to say this one instead of that, because that just came from the book that I'm currently reading.
Yeah.
But nothing blooms year round. I heard that quote the other day. One of our leaders, actually, Blair Sells, I think it was Blair Sells. She posted it or said it. Nothing blooms year round.
Yeah, that's
and
wonderful.
It's such a great thing to think about because, we do have periods of time where we need to kind of pull it up and turn the dirt.
Yep.
And replant.
Different seasons.
And and there will be a time to harvest if you're, patient enough to get through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Really powerful. I was told yesterday, funny story, we were doing a little tour at one of the direct selling companies locally here, and I said, wow, that's really special. And she turned to me and she said, please don't say that, because here in America that means something different to what it means for you guys over in Australia. And she said it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, that's really special. So I'm really conscious now of my confirmation words. So that was really powerful, Sam.
Special, Sam.
So it was really special. I do love the differences. You think Australia and America are so similar, and they are in so many ways, but they're also so different.
Yeah.
So hilarious. Sam, if you could have a superpower, any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh, I don't know. It's, my granddaughter is really into Monsters, Inc. right now. So I'm like Ando the lizard, his ability to disappear.
I was like, you turn into a monster? Like, where is this going?
No,
okay, you disappear, like, to be able to walk into any room and not be
it's
seen.
funny. My whole career, I've been involved in this channel.
Mm-hmm.
And, you go to a big event, or, I'm on the phone today with leaders and teams, and you kind of have to have your lights switched on.
Yep.
And I learned something from another conference that I went to, where somebody they actually physically lift their hand up like they're flipping a switch on, and then they go and they do their thing and they're on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually really introverted in a lot of ways. I love my private time. I love my mornings.
Yeah.
I love to be able to spend time in just my own thoughts and my own personal development, away from the people. And then the second I show up, here, it's on. And
yeah.
So the ability to disappear, maybe?
To be invisible.
To be invisible for just a moment,
Yeah. I once interviewed someone on this podcast, and she said the same thing. And I said, why's that? She goes, I could rob banks and stuff.
Well, no,
all the answers.
It's funny because later in my career, I'm not really feeling tired. It's not about that. It's just that I've also learned that there's a book, Arthur C. Brooks. I don't know if you've read Strength to Strength, but it's amazing. I should have probably said that. That was a really recent book, but it's written for a guy my age.
Yeah.
So I'm 48. I'm about to be 49, and most of my career is behind me. And I have this young gal, Lindsay Mashburn, that works for me. She's way better at everything than I am in our same job, but I'm her boss.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've recognized through reading this book, because I kind of wondered, like, hey, am I just done? Am I done? Do I know anything anymore? But there's a lot of wisdom that I've gained, experiences that she hasn't yet. Yeah. So I'm still I'm still a resource to her. Yeah. And she's a huge resource to me. But it's something that I think is being invisible. Yeah. Sometimes it's like
there's a lot in observation, right? We learn a lot, and we become a lot wiser, and we can be a lot better at what we do, and we can observe and quietly observe in so many ways.
For me, I'm kind of like Sam. Even though we talk to people all the time, and obviously we have these conversations and we travel, and we travel the world and meet with people. I like my personal time too, my family time. For me, depending on the day, I would say I go both ways. One way would be like just have unlimited patience, because I think, meaning not let anything get to you, just be able to.
Yes, 4 young kids.
So I got 4 young kids.
Don't pass all that.
So it would be something like that, but then I quickly realized that with that power comes responsibility. Yeah, and I'm not sure if it might be better not have any superpower, because like. You see
no one has said that. That is a response I've never had. And I think everyone's like, wow, I can have a superpower. But you're right, because with that, no matter what you pick, there's a negative. And every time someone says something, my brain straight away goes to, ooh, but would you really want that? So I think
so
a lot of wisdom right there.
I know, it's almost like.
So last question, and by far my favorite, if you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, what would it be, Rafa?
I would say just keep grinding, keep doing your thing. Your dreams are out there, and you will get to them. Yeah,
awesome.
I would honestly just try to convince myself, don't change anything. Don't change anything. Experience it. It's a journey, but along the way, try to have a little bit more grace. Because you're going to need it. Yep. You got to give yourself grace. but you really need to give other people grace because, everybody has their own journey, their own experiences, their own challenges and strengths and triumphs.
Yep.
And they all handle them a little bit differently than maybe you would have.
Yep.
And so I think grace is really important. And yeah.
Could I throw a second one?
Yeah.
And then
Is this because he said 3 books?
he said 3, so you like, add up. And then when Jeremiah talked about Zyia, and I went like, no, not Zyia. I'd be like, listen to Jeremiah when he talked about Zyia the first time.
Oh, that's what you were doing. I love that.
Yeah, I'll be like, yes, absolutely.
When they come.
You're like,
When you say yes.
you did just say don't change anything.
Yeah, no, honestly, that is true. Like I don't think you can change anything.
Yeah.
It's just all
I think
part of
it's
the journey.
really powerful way to finish right there. Yeah.
Say yes to Zyia.
Say yes to Zyia. I love it. Well, look, guys, I want to thank you so much. I got a little gift. I don't normally get to give this live in person, but we always send our podcast guests a gift. And I know, Rafa, I talked to you yesterday about the double coat Tim Tams.
Please.
So don't give those ones to the kids because they are, in my opinion, by far the best Tim Tams of all of them.
I can never beat this now.
And I'll tell you a really funny story. We these came from Australia. We didn't buy them here. I know that you can get them, but they're not the same here.
Yeah,
we brought them over, but we actually gave them to our 19-year-old son to bring over in his suitcase. He had about 30 packets of them, and he got pulled over by customs, who x-rayed the bag because they thought he was some kind of a drug mule, but he really wasn't. He was a Tim Tam mule.
They're that good.
True story. He got pulled into customs and he got searched because they were like, who on earth brings that many biscuits?
Makes it extra special.
It makes it extra special. And Sam, this is the world's rarest chocolate, all the way from a very good friend of ours locally that makes this incredible chocolate. He's also been on the podcast when we were talking about storytelling. You might have we talk about it a lot. Probably because I brought it in before.
Oh, really?
I didn't think Rafa shared it, but maybe he did.
I think
that before.
That's probably.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
I'm sure I
so
did.
much.
Yeah, is it maybe?
Yeah, give us the opportunity. I know that
Yeah.
it's been a long time coming to do this, and we appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you both sharing so much incredible wisdom. And I know we're all really passionate about seeing this industry do amazing things. And I know with people like you guys in here, cheering people on and leading people the way that you are, I think, we're in really great hands. So thanks again, guys. So appreciate you both.
Thank you so much for having us.
Awesome. And thanks as well to our beautiful listeners for tuning in. So great to have you guys with us again this week. We'll see you on the podcast again next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.